ahead, take us away. Theo.
Mike, did you watch any of the Jaguars game yesterday? I know you guys were probably busy.
No, I looked at the stats, saw a few highlights. Happy that he played as well as he did and got to play.
It's obviously not too surprising for you guys here, but most people in the NFL still are kind of unaware of him. Are you at all shocked that he was able to take that kind of a stage and be thrown into a situation like that against a pretty good team and thrive, really?
Well, he threw the ball really well. I thought took command, didn't have any of those jitters guys will have, and went out and played well, almost broke a record.
Have you guys?
Since the game yesterday?
No, texted.
Have you guys ever changed the approach as far as how you handle the Friday games? Is just kind of the week is structured? Have you guys ever changed when practices are, meetings, anything like that, year to year?
A little. I mean, we practice Sunday, so we'll automatically practice Sunday whether we're going to anyway. We'll meet today, and then kind of load up tomorrow's practice, and then after that, then you're pretty much on schedule.
You've known Dana Holgerson since Valdosta State, and then you guys also work together at Texas Tech. What's your relationship like with him?
I've known him since he's in high school. Good, if we're at the same spot, we'll see each other. Yeah.
Can you talk about the similarities and differences about how you both run the air raid?
Well, he's tightened it up a little, more into a run game. Some of that perhaps to fit his quarterback. He's had a couple running quarterbacks, and so he runs it more. Some tighter sets, runs it more. It still throws it. You still see some stuff that's similar.
Were you the one who recruited him at Iowa Wesleyan? Were you the
No, I wasn't. Well, you didn't have to go far to recruit him. He was right in town. He went to Mount Pleasant High, so that kind of recruited itself a little bit.
Do you have any good, funny memories with him? I mean, I think you were quoted saying however smart you think he is, he's smarter than that.
Yeah, no, he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy because I worked with him a long time. I worked with him at Valdosta, and then, he was on my first staff at Texas Tech and was there quite a few years. So, yeah, I mean, I know him real well.
What do you kind of expect him to do at Houston in his first year? His home, he seems to be pretty happy there.
Yeah, I think he really likes Houston, always has. He's always kept a house there, and I think that he's very happy to be there. And and he's been at University of Houston before, so I think he'll elevate them, and I think they'll play as good as they can. So.
Is it true you guys had to cancel a trip to the Bahamas this summer because you guys happen to be playing each other this year?
No, I didn't. He was invited. I think stuff came up because when you first get there, I don't know, you'd have to ask him, but when you first take a job, it's incredibly busy, and that, your pilot task tends to grow each day. But no, I went. He canceled before we left,
He was the QB coach, the receivers coach, and the special teams coach at Valdosta. Are there even more roles for coaches at that type of school with kind of the lack of resources, and you guys probably all have to wear quite a few hats there?
Well, he mainly did the special teams, and then he was my assistant, and we coached the receivers and the quarterbacks, and then but no, I thought he did a great job. So.
Does he still pick your brain about the air raid? Do you guys talk about it?
What's that?
You guys still talk about the air raid much? Does he pick your brain about it any?
Sometimes we'll exchange film and, talk about concepts and things.
He was also your OC at Tech. At what point did you decide to kind of get rid of the OC role and then kind of be your own OC? And what went into that decision?
Well, I was the OC the whole time at Tech, and then I made him and Sonny Dykes co-OCs as they got further in their careers. So.
Is there any reason you don't kind of use a official OC now, or, I mean, I know you have a number of people helping out, but.
Well, the thing is, at Tech, I was pretty much the OC the whole time and gave him the title, but the biggest reason is the same thing that we've experienced here is coaches come and go, then you don't miss a step on what you're doing offensively. You know, I mean, the various times, and they obviously good coaches that have gone on to elevate in their careers. You know, if I'm sitting there losing an OC every other year, then all of a sudden there's a whole ripple effect. And we haven't had one, and the reason we haven't is because, you know, it's kind of next man up, and, you know, we're still sticking with what I've, you know, installed and decided to run, and then I don't have to reestablish myself in that role every other year in order to get it back on track.
You're going to see a ton of personalities in college football, coaches. A lot of them are business oriented, but Dana is kind of one that's a little bit more, has a more colorful personality. When you guys were together, what were meetings like?
Oh, they're good, you know, just kind of free-form meetings. We want people to say what they think, because you want to have as many eyes on whatever you're looking at as possible, and you want as much input as possible so that you can check and test the good ideas and then purge the bad ideas, so that in the end that you form a little stronger product, you know, which is why political correctness is so destructive in this country, is because that doesn't happen on a broader scale. And so there was no political correctness in that meeting. If somebody had something that they thought something was a dumb idea, they'd tell you. And so then hopefully you wouldn't be victimized by running or executing or coaching a dumb idea because it was challenged. If it was a good idea, then you had a better shot of understanding and knowing it was a good idea because it was tested and challenged. And so as a result, you know, together we were able to derive, you know, one of the better offenses in the country, and that a lot of people have borrowed. So, you know, without scrutiny and you know, challenging thoughts and ideas, you know, it's not possible for the better ones to go to the top and you know, for you to realize what's a good idea or what's a bad idea unless it's tested.
I had a chance to look at the film of Northern Colorado. If you kind of put that New Mexico State and Northern Colorado together, what are the main takeaways that you kind of want to improve offensively and defensively?
Say it again.
So, like, looking at those first two games, where do you think your team stands?
You know, I don't know. I mean, we're a work in progress. You know, we've done some good things. We've done some things that I wasn't as impressed with, and I think that, you know, the first three games you have the most improvement, and I do think we're not just a team that's improving, but we're one that desperately needs to improve, and if we don't improve, we're going to be an incredibly average team. And so, I mean, our focus this week's on improvement. We have to find a way to improve.
Is there any specific area that you think of the team maybe that needs the most improvement?
I think just overall, I think we've improved some at our communication. I think we need to be better at blocking. I think we need to be better at tackling, which are the ultimate fundamentals of football, which without it, you know, you're really not very good. I think we need to be a tougher team. You know, right now we're a team that does good things when things go our way. You know, we're scrappy in situations, but we're not a down after down team. We're a team that, you know, in some situations can rise and be explosive. We're not as consistent as we need to be.
What do you feel like the keys are to slowing down the quarterback here today?
Well, he's a good player. You just got to play sound defense. Everybody's got to be gap sound, and you got to tackle well. You got to keep the other guys accounted for so that you can account for him as well. So, you know, because he's going to deal the ball off if he doesn't take it himself.
Where do you feel QB pressure will be?
It's always important. You have to affect the quarterback.
We talked to the defense about, or Daniel Isom, about going against kind of an air raid style all the time in practice for you guys. Do you think it gives the defense any advantage that the they kind of go against a similar offense.
Yeah, it's similar in some ways and it's different in others. Maybe a partial advantage, I don't know, but so does theirs. So,
Just excitement of playing in Energy Stadium.
yeah, I've played in that stadium before and it's a great stadium. We played a bowl game there right before the Super Bowl. Yeah, right before they played the Super Bowl. I can't even remember who played in the Super Bowl. We played Navy there. It was the two top offenses in the country, and we led the nation in passing. They led it in rushing, and it was a heck of a game.
I think you were saying on the coaches show maybe last week how the radio show that the turf was real ripped up before that game.
Oh yeah, no. Well, they have. It's actually kind of clever, or at least they used to. I think those things were on pallets, and they would move those pallets around to keep the turf fresh. And they were going to redo the whole thing before the Super Bowl, and they played a whole season worth on there. And we went out there, and some of the patches were spray painted green rather than actually naturally green. I mean, they were spray painted green, but we still had a good game, and it was kind of a tore up field.
Do you think people in Texas would forego watching high school football on a Friday night to watch a college game? Or?
Texas is always, and I'm sort of with Texas on this, has always kind of resented Friday night games because they think it impinges on high school games. You know, their thought is college you have Saturdays, so why are you playing on Fridays? And the high schools deserve Fridays. So, I do think they have a point there that I respect to a certain degree.
That could make it maybe kind of a unique environment. Not only is it on a Friday night, but it's also a neutral site, so it's not at Houston Stadium. Do you think it could be a kind of a weird environment for being a cavernous NFL stadium, everything that kind of goes into it?
Nah, maybe. I think everybody's excited to be in that stadium, and it really is a great state-of-the-art stadium. So I think, both teams' players are probably pretty excited to be there.
What do you feel like you need to do to be successful against Houston's defense?
We just have to play well, keep improving, do what we do, and do it better.
Let's go to the phone line. Any questions on the phone line for Coach Leach?
Coach Scott Hansen from Seattle Times. I was curious, would you prefer not playing a game against a friend like this if you had your choice?
Prefer not what?
Playing against a guy you know like Dana.
Uh,
Playing against people.
I've done that. I've done that so many times that I'd be wasting my time to devote much attention and energy to that. I've got an awful lot of coaches out there around the country, and it's pretty tough to whether they're assistants or head coaches. It's pretty tough to be too concerned with that portion of it. The other thing is, in the course of a game, once a game starts, you're awfully busy solving the problems that their team presents without thinking about friends or coaches you've worked with or memory lane stuff,
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions on the line for Coach? Okay, back in the room.
Will you and Coach Jorgensen talk at all this week leading up to the game?
I don't know. Probably not. Probably we'll talk at the 50-yard line, I'm sure, and then that type of thing. And we'll see each other several times a year, like we always do. So.
Is it weird at all playing another Cougar team?
From what I understand, or somebody said this, that they had adopted the name Cougars from Washington State. Which wouldn't surprise me a bit. And then, just imagine if you're Tigers or Bulldogs, then you're playing the same mascot all the time. So.
Rob just alluded to it's Cougars versus Cougars. What makes Butch the best Cougar mascot?
Well, it would be good to see a battle between Butch and a live Oh, yeah, I will say this, the Butch Cougar costume is unique and iconic, and people all around the country recognize it. And I do think that whenever it was adopted, I think they've done a great job being very consistent with it and all that. And they've even created somewhat of a personality around Butch as opposed to, some of these mascots that, look like they're made out of bubble gum or something, and then, they'll wallow into each other or things like that.
Anything else for Coach?
Do you think Butch would win in a fight against the live cougar?
What's that?
Do you think Butch would win in a fight against the live cougar?
I don't know. There's a couple running around the community here, so he might get the chance to find out if he's not careful.
Mike, what did you think about the D-line Saturday?
I thought we were okay. I thought we played with high pads. I thought, same thing I mentioned before, that we were inconsistent. We played quick. We need to be more conscious of our gaps. Kind of really just within the context of what they do, about the same stuff that I could say about the rest of our team.
Would they didn't do as much stimming and that kind of thing in the opener? Did they do more of that Saturday? And did that have something to do with all the false starts on UNC's part?
We did a little stimming. I don't know for sure. I mean, you'd have to ask them, but we adjust our front in order to address the strength, and they're flopping people a little bit, so that contributes to it.
Do you see some traces of River and Kyle Sweet and Brandon Arcanato? He obviously spent time with both of those guys and kind of is of the mold. He's not extremely fast or strong or big, but he always finds ways to get open and kind of runs crisp routes and kind of does things similar, I guess.
I think that's helped him a lot that he played behind both of those guys. I think the fact he played behind both of those guys was very beneficial to him. I thought he did play consistently last game, and has quietly been an incredibly consistent receiver for us. And I think of the receivers, he had the best game last game.
And did your relationship with Dana kind of help facilitate Lamont McDougal's transfer here? Did you guys talk about Lamont, or did he kind of suggest that you take a look at him or anything like that?
No, they didn't want to lose Lamont. No, it had more to do with, once Lamont was going to transfer and then they released him. It probably had more to do with my relationship with his father, Stalker, who I'd coached at Oklahoma.
Any other questions for Coach Leach?
All right, Coach, this one's kind of a three-parter this week. If you can go on tour with your favorite band, which band would that be? Where would you go, and what do you think it would be like?
Boy, there's a lot of bands. That's a tough question. There are too many bands to say. There's a lot of bands. You do the individual thing, somebody, because some are like bigger shows than others. I can't really narrow it down to a band, but what I do think is that, one would be, you have the individual artist, kind of a Neil Young type of guy, or Toby Keith, another guy, where it's them and they're doing the thing. I've heard that, and I've been to Jimmy Buffett concerts twice, and those are incredible shows, and I'm sure that they have a great time on the road. The ones that I think would probably be the most fun are the ones that have been together for a long time, have an incredible amount of camaraderie, and that are hitting some pretty good locations. Although as they hit these locations, it's not unlike football from the standpoint they're not planning to be there very long. And so it's kind of the hotel room and the camaraderie, I think. And I think that as tired as these guys get of the road, I think the ones that are really close, I think the camaraderie and teamwork, I think, is what keeps them going. Because now, there's a bunch of bands nowadays that they were going when I was a little kid, and they're still together doing their thing. And I do think they develop relationships and closeness in that type of setting.
Do you think it'd be a pretty wild scene going on tour with a band?
Not as wild as it once was. The biggest thing of going on tour with one of those bands, you try to stay healthy and be healthy at the end of it.
You shared the story about Kanye West buying a ranch outside of Cody. What'd you think of that, and what would you show Kanye West if you could tour him around Cody?
Well, it was interesting. Somebody sent me that, and it was interesting. The first thing I tried to place the ranch, because most of them are either up North Fork or South Fork. His is outside of Cody towards Meeteetse. And so I was trying to sort out which ranch it was. And then, but Cody's a great place that everybody ought to visit. And so I was intrigued by the fact that Kanye had been there at least long enough to buy a ranch. And and I'd be very curious to know what sparked his interest in it, because, there's a lot of places out west you could select. I do think he made a fantastic selection in Cody. And I think that, the things that where you start is the Buffalo Bill Historical Center, because that's kind of a comprehensive view, not just of Wyoming, but the whole West. My favorite spot, I guess, is Trail Town, where they have a bar that Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids drank at. And there's bullet holes in the door. But the scenery is, the biggest thing, the most compelling thing is the scenery. And then you want to get on the horse, and you want to get on some skis, and also you probably want to buy an elk tag,
Anything else for Coach? All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, appreciate it.